Well.
Ooh.
Well, street talk
So
crime.
much to talk about.
Drama, gossip.
Strap yourselves in, especially if you're
Dream
driving.
sequence.
We got stuff to say.
I like that week in Coronation Street. That was brilliant.
Well, tell me more.
Stuff happened, Gemma.
Oh, so 5 things happened.
5 stories happened, although, you know, one of them was only one scene. We're starting off with Yaz fighting. Heart attack.
Oh my
Geoff's
God.
ex. Dream sequence.
Dream
Amazing.
sequence.
Then we had Gary and Rick's story. Gary, Rick, Adam, and so I came up with a load of storyline titles for this,
Go on
Gemma.
then.
Rick Havoc.
Oh.
Or salvage and wreck removal. You know
What?
that. Salvage and wreck removal, it's a thing.
Wreck removal.
Yes, it's like when you dredge up a boat. from
Michael,
the
don't
bottom of the
pretend
sea.
you know about this other than having Googled it.
I come up with all my own puns.
Yeah, salvage. Yeah, marine salvage.
You came up with a good one. Rick rolling in his grave.
I would take full credit for that one, yes.
That would make your watch come off your wrist. You're
It's the
shuffling
only-
about in there.
Really the only thing that makes sense.
But I thought that what we would go with, because we just had Yaz fighting, Gaz slighting,
I like
which
that
is
one.
what Adam's been doing all week.
Gaslighting.
And Gary was slaughtered so much that he lost it today.
There's something going on between those two, more than just a rivalry. It's a deeper relationship than I think anyone's prepared to admit.
Another big revelation this week is what Daniel's been getting up to with Nikki.
Yeah.
Weird. Creepy. She is dressing Tincognito. You get it?
Tinker.
Tincognito, yeah. Or I also thought we could call this one Softly and Sweetly, He Cuddles with Wheatley. Because that's her surname, you see.
Isn't that the name of the...
We're scraping the bottom of the barrel here, folks.
Isn't that the name of the little thing that talks to you in Portal?
Wheatley is the name of the little thing that talks to you. Good reference.
Thank you very
done,
much,
Gemma.
everybody.
Although you should have said Portal 2. We had a little bit more of the Never the Twins Shall Meet story on
Always
Monday,
so
Wednesday
close.
episode. And
Is that talking about Nikki's boobs?
Stop it. So they're perfectly natural. And
I didn't say anything about that. Ooh.
and we had like one scene of a brewing Bailey story because she's working so hard, what with all this
Who
COVID
is?
going around. Aggie. In fact, you could say she's Bailey ever here.
Sorry, I'm drinking.
Gemma's on the cider. She's got a can of cider in hand. She's got a bottle of Campari on the table.
Yeah, and my Prosecco's in the fridge.
As if this week's
Baby.
Coronation Street wasn't enough to loosen your lips with all the drama that was going on.
All right,
Would you
let's get
like
on
to
with
do the Yaz fighting story?
Oh my God. Wasn't this fun, everybody? I hope everybody enjoyed these scenes. I think
I
there's
know,
a
I'm sure that
potential to be a
everybody
bit
did.
divisive on Friday, but we'll get to it. Should
Well,
we talk
even
about...
Monday and Wednesdays, because Jonathan Harvey is quite a divisive rider.
Yeah,
Writer.
He's
I've
saying
got no
things
idea what he
today.
thinks about horses.
It's not what he thinks, Michael, it's the way he rides a side saddle. It's very odd for a man to ride side saddle. Anyway, we'll talk about dream sequences in Coronation Street
Yes.
in general in a minute.
What? Oh no, wait, before we talk about Yaz fighting, I want to talk about coronavirus stuff because that
You talk about
permeated.
it now?
Yes, let's talk about it
Okay.
now because that permeated the whole of Wednesday
You
and
guys,
Friday's
we've got
episode.
so much to talk about.
You know, Coronation Street said we'll make slight references to it when it comes back. In fact, you
No, I
barely
think
even.
they did. No, I think they did a good job. Because the
I
thing
thought
is,
it was absolutely fine.
you will have been watching it and knowing and seeing the odd bits and bobs that inadvertently had to be added because of safety for the cast and the crew. So naturally socially distancing in some of the scenes that we'd already seen mixed in with scenes that had been filmed before. And then on Friday, it was just like a big splash of cold water on your face.
Yeah.
Yes, COVID-19 has been going on this whole time. You just haven't noticed all these really obvious things that we've all been doing.
See,
So I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine.
I thought, you know, I got my hang up about the no time jump thing here, but putting that to one side, I think they did very well. Yes, they did kind of bash you over the head with it. I'm surprised.
I don't think they
I'm surprised
did.
it's not down in that grove with Rick.
I don't think they did because honestly, think about how often you talk about or have it impacted on your everyday life what is going on. If some aliens were to come down and watch us all going about our daily lives and they'd only been here last year, they'd be like, God, they're going on about it a bit.
About COVID.
Calm down, it's only a pandemic.
Have some smash.
Right,
No, it's just
yeah.
the fact that they went from, you know, not talking about it at all to
Well,
stop banging
no,
on
wait a
about
minute. No, they didn't bang on about it. Literally, it got mentioned. The word was mentioned today for the first time on Coronation Street. Tim got to say coronavirus. I don't know how often they're going to say the word.
It was almost Brian, except he said corona. No, coroner.
Coroner.
And also, Yasmeen had a coroner.
Wow, it's like they're trying to slip those references in where they can. So we had that. We had a poster in Roy's Rolls. We had Tim also was rubbing his hands with antibacterial. I found it a bit odd that people were still socially distancing from people in their own household.
But even then, I didn't think it was too bad. I thought the direction was very, very good, actually. They knew they had to get it right. And a lot of scenes, if they hadn't been talking about it, it wouldn't. I honestly don't think it would have been as completely obvious whether it was social distance or not.
There was a one-way system in the cabin, which was hilarious to me, because why are you going to be letting that many people in the shop anyway?
Yeah.
There's no way you need a one-way system, but anyway, that was fine.
The first scene with Gary and Adam in the cafe.
Oh yeah.
Adam was like, "Oh, keep your distance there."
Yeah, that was. I thought that was good.
Yeah, no, that was fine.
I think it was all completely natural. This is all things you would say.
Yeah.
We're still making jokes and making references and talking about this, even though it's been going on since March.
Jenny's windows cleaner's dad's died of it.
Yeah. Now.
First casualty in Weatherfield.
Yes.
They should have had that. You know how they advertised the 4 funerals and a wedding for the tram crash episode. It's like someone's going to die of COVID on Friday. It's just the window cleaner's dad.
Uncredited, unseen.
The brother of that poor taxi driver in the tram crash.
Sad.
So sad. What else was there? I can't remember. There were other things, but
those are the main things.
It was fine, and it felt, for the first time in a long time, fairly relevant and up to date and modern, when Coronation Street usually shies away from all that, don't they? They don't usually reference things that are going on in real life, so it was odd for them to do it.
No, it wasn't odd.
No, I thought they did a good job. I still think and wish they could have done a time jump.
They could have done a time jump after today's episode. I think they could have done a time jump.
I mean, the Yasmeen has trials now being postponed again, presumably, so that could have, No,
I don't think they're going to postpone it. They're just going to wheel her in the hospital bed and go, look, it's a pandemic. This is unprecedented times. It's fine to have heart patients in the.
I mean, as much as Adam won't let go of Gary at the moment, the fact that Gary's had his little meltdown, he could be like, right, I need to calm things down and not be so blatantly obvious about things at the moment.
Well, I mean, it's no good talking about how we would have done a time jump because they haven't done one, and you've got to deal with it, Michael.
Yeah, and I think going once next week starts, I won't even be thinking about it.
Exactly, that's the thing. It would have made sense, and it would have plugged some gaps and cemented over some cracks and whatever. But when we start on Monday, it will. It's going to be a new week. We'll be like ducks to water.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be as it should be.
What are baby ducks called again?
Goslings.
Oh yeah, goslings. Yeah, no, totally. Although the one thing that did stand out as being a bit weird was Bernie and Brian being in a car together.
I didn't think you were allowed to go in cars together.
I don't think that they formed a bubble.
Maybe they're in each other's bubble.
I don't think they're allowed to be in each other's bubble.
Why not?
Well, because you can only be in a house bubble if you can team up with
you make it sound like a
one person
group.
and teaming up with a bubble with a family.
I don't think anyone cares anymore.
And there's definitely more than one person living in Bernie's house.
No, they're all plastic now.
People don't care anymore, and I'm seeing a lot of intermingling of bubbles out on the streets and what have you. But Coronation Street should be setting an example.
I've
even
seen
Bernie.
people in each other's bubbles. It's disgusting.
I know, totally.
But today was the first day that face masks are mandatory in shops and in closed spaces in the UK.
Yes, I went to Sainsbury's today with my face mask on.
Yes.
Did my bit.
Yeah, you did. And now you can wear your horribly misspelled mask.
I can crack out the old Corrie mask, can't I? I haven't worn that one in public yet.
We should do some
for the
Conversation
shame
Street
of
ones.
People noticing the American spelling. But we could do Conversation Street masks, yeah. Anyway.
But so that wasn't in the show, but they couldn't have known that.
Obviously, no. Everything's going to be a little bit behind. I mean, things like the school's going back. I don't know where are we at the moment. So they're possibly filming early December, early September now. where characters, where Ruby
I
and,
really
and
don't
Hope and
see
Jack and
what
that lot are going
would
to
be the
school,
need
so
to
they could
mention
make...
them
No, but
going to school.
they could do, couldn't they?
I know, but if I was
And
right, if I was
something
trying to
has been set in
plan,
place, so we know how schools are going to be.
wouldn't you? Yeah. Anything can change. Anything can change. Imagine what you'd think if you were in January now.
So yeah, it was fine, and I really, really did think the directing was on point today. And
I really loved the... Can we just talk about what happened?
Yes, right.
Right,
Yaz's
so this
story.
is 10 minutes in, and we're going to start to tell you what happened. On Monday...
They've watched it, they know what happened.
On Monday, in the cafe... So this is all So Monday and Wednesday are pre-lockdown, but you've got to pretend that... Well, just do what you want in your own brain. I have no business being in there. In the cafe on Monday, Geoff is persuading Brian to tune into his radio show, his hospital radio show. And this was the other thing I learned that was interesting to me on our Facebook group. Americans do not know what hospital radio is and do not have it in their country. This is very odd to me because I would have thought that they would have it.
I would have thought it would be a standard thing.
Yeah, but I guess they
Universal.
don't have free healthcare. So they've got to worry about paying for the bills. And if you're worrying about how you're going to pay for it...
Maybe they do have hospital radio, but it's like $100 an hour and nobody's ever actually listened to it.
Yeah, so...
I've already had to pay for the...
I think
shell out for the ambulance. I'm not listening to Geoff on the radio.
I think it's fairly obvious from watching what you have seen on Coronation Street what hospital radio is. It's just... I don't even think you get paid, do you? I think a lot of them are volunteers. It was obviously more relevant back in the day when... you didn't have any
Thank goodness Geoff's raking it in with his magic tricks.
Back in the old days, if you want to listen to hospital radio, you had to put earphones in that look a bit like stethoscopes, like big plastic ones.
Did you?
Yeah. Right, so he is talking to Brian about his radio show, saying listen to it later, and Brian is surprised that Geoff is... What?
Oh no, yeah, so that Geoff is defending Yasmeen in court, because Geoff at this point, he's done a bit of a turnaround, hasn't he?
He's done a 180. He said, I still love her, my darling Yaz, and... But then he finds out from Brian that Sally is going to be called as a witness for the defence. He is absolutely flabbergasted, and he's like, oh, thank the Lord I got my radio show today. What has he got up his sleeve? Very interesting question.
Probably either like one of those fake bouquets or a string of flags or a rabbit.
A dead dove. Right, then we see Yasmeen in prison, and she has got this meeting with the charity woman called Lucy.
No, Elaine. Lucy's her
friend.
Yes.
She tells Lucy...
Her prison friend.
Oh, we know about them. She tells that this charity woman's coming to visit, and she wants to... she's not really sure about it. She doesn't really know if she really needs anyone to speak to, if Jeff's going to admit to what he's done. And... she's kind of dithering, and Lisa's like, I think you should still talk to her anyway. Then we see Alia worrying that Yasmeen is going to be right back under Jeff's spell again if whatever he says in court gets her to come home. And then Imran and Toya start talking about fostering again, and Toya's like, shut up.
She says, do you mind if we don't?
What, foster or talk about it?
Both.
Then we see Radio Hospital Weatherfield, whatever it is, and Geoff is being such an arse. If anybody watch, I just said to you, if you watch Coronation Street, you pretty much know how hospital radio works. But now I'm going to retract that completely, because there's no way you go on air and talk about your personal life to the extent that Geoff. You just play.
This was his
requests.
first day back, wasn't it? After his hospital trip.
I don't know how many people are in hospital for such a length of time that they get to have a deep and close personal relationship with a hospital DJ.
I know. He was like, oh, thanks for all the letters and emails and
to be honest, he's had in his hands,
two envelopes.
About two. So he has returned from work. Everybody knows that he has been stabbed in the neck by his wife.
All these long-term patients.
And he's laying this sob story on thick, saying, I'm going to set the record straight. And Ryan is also listening to Geoff, because Brian's got it on the radio in the cabin, already quadrupling the amount of listeners that Geoff gets on this, and he is furious. He said, what a piece of work. Brian defends Geoff, saying that actually it was Yasmeen that stabbed him, and Ryan says, well, don't you think something really pushed her to it? I don't understand why Ryan said this to Brian, because Brian knows from Kathy what the other side of the story is. I don't know why we had that line at all, because Brian should know that Brian knows the ins and outs of it. And also Brian, I don't know why Brian's buying this. Anyway, Brian tells Sally about Geoff talking about forgiveness on the radio, and he also lets it slip that he told Geoff that she's going to be a witness, and she's not really happy about this. The cliffhanger on Monday is Yasmeen going to meet her visitor, and it turns out she is not a lady from a charity. She says, I used to be you. She is Geoff's ex-girlfriend.
Yes. Or wife. We
Or
don't know.
something. Geoff's ex.
She's very cagey about it, and Yasmeen doesn't really press her.
She's like, I used to go out with Geoff, and Yasmeen's like, just in the interests of Corripedia, could you tell me when so I can fill it out?
Yasmeen does say on Wednesday, like, which one are you or something, and she
doesn't say, because I think they don't really want to set in stone what went on yet.
Yeah, there's going to be a big reveal with that, I'm sure.
I don't know whether there's going to be a reveal, because I think you don't really need to know. I think the point that
think you do.
Coronation Street is making, yeah, but I'm seeing it from a different perspective. I think Coronation Street is making out that Yasmeen has Geoff's history of his lovers and wives or whatever, but actually it's a load of rubbish, and everything he's told her about how many girlfriends he's had is a lie. So when she says which one, it's irrelevant which one, because they're all fictional, or, you know what I mean? Like, he could have said, I only ever had 3 girlfriends and I married, what, you know what I mean? It's a load of rubbish, I think.
I do not think that. I'll tell you later. We'll get on to it.
All right. So, Wednesday, Yasmeen says, were you one of Geoff's escorts? And Elaine's like, oh, no, but thank you.
She didn't say that, but she should have done.
She says, no, but I heard about your case, and I used to be controlled by Geoff too. And she lists off all the things he did. Isolated me from my family, controlled me, made me think I'm an alcoholic, and he even drew crosses on the wall to show me where to clean. And he said he had a heart complaint, and it was all a load of lies. At this point, Yasmeen must be just struggling to take this in, because it's one thing it's one thing to be abused like this, but it's quite another thing to realise you're just one in a long line of people.
Yeah, and it's one thing
Because
to have Alia telling you that this is what he's doing, but then to actually hear it from somebody else who's been through it.
But don't forget, part of how Geoff controls her is by making her think she's special, and he loves her deeply, but he's just done this to someone else as well. Anyway, Geoff has a showdown with Sally in the street where he tells her, I know you're going to slag me off in court. That's not very nice for her. Then we go back to the hospital, and Elaine's just saying that...
Listen.
Yes? Geoff is capable of violence.
We will cure your criminality.
Yasmeen says, you must go, because Geoff has never raised a hand to me. I'm not listening to anything else you say. And Elaine says, listen, if you don't want to listen to anything I said, go to the library and find all the books on coercive control and read them, because knowledge is power. So she goes away, leaves her. Lucy then goes and brings her a book, and Yasmeen doesn't really want to read it, but I think she does in the end. Geoff is alone in his house, and Tim brings him some crispy pancakes. Now that's a primed tea, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely.
A man with a healthy appetite, and a
that's what Geoff said
dinner.
would be more welcome than a singer in the Spice Girls, which just made me hate Geoff even more.
That was a second.
Quite frankly,
wasn't that the second Spice
There
Girls
was 2
reference?
Spice Girls references in Wednesday's episode. So still relevant, Gemma. They still got it.
I didn't say they weren't. Yasmeen phones
I
Geoff.
love crispy pancakes. They used to be like a staple when I was growing up.
I
Finder's
never really
crispy
had them.
pancakes, Bird of Matthews golden drummers, mini Kievs.
We never
Alpha
ate things
bites.
like that in my house.
Oh.
Because I was an only child. It's like, why would they buy child food? They just ate grown-up food.
There's no age limit to having Finder's crispy pancakes.
Well, we know that now, don't we?
Geoff. Yeah.
They are nice. The beef ones are nice.
Yes, well, there we go.
I guess people who in different countries don't know what crispy pancakes are. They're just like folded over.
Pancakes.
They're not really pancakes,
They're not really,
they?
are they?
They're like, what is it? It's just like some kind of dough that's breaded or something, folded over.
It's got breadcrumbs on the outside,
and then
it?
you bake it in the oven, and then when you eat it inside, it's either got cheese and ham, I think,
No,
or like
just
mincy beef.
they're just cheese. I don't think there's ham.
We'll have to do some research for this next podcast. Sorry, everybody, for not preparing in advance.
Yeah, knowledge of 80s cuisine.
Finder's crispy pancakes.
Oh, they're lovely.
With some nice waffles, or those little smiley face.
Bird's eye potato waffles.
They're waffly versatile. Shut up!
We digress.
Be quiet. Yaz phones up Geoff and Tim leaves so that Geoff can talk in private, and he immediately starts talking about how wonderful she is, how lucky he is to have her, and eventually she says, what I just said to you, shut up!
Yeah.
She says, shut up, Geoff.
Oh, that next scene.
Oh, and you were so
This
funny when you
phone
talked to me
call
about this later, because you were like, she's so funny, she's such a librarian that she can't even insult him properly. No offence to librarians, Michael's mum was a librarian, and he's still
They're all saints.
They are lovely, gentle, kind, non-violent people. So Yasmeen's best insult that she can crack out to him was, he is as funny as a car crash.
Yeah. You're as funny as a car crash.
Yeah.
It's like she literally, she can't make a good insult.
She really can't. And she's
Look
so
at all that
sweet.
Shakespeare she must have read. She's got an English degree. She could have called him...
Swine.
Is that your best Shakespearean insult?
Pox on you. Well, he's given her the pox.
She has.
You gave me the pox, you swine! Anyway, he tells him about her visitor, someone he was in a relationship with, and he is shaken by this. He was not expecting to get this information. She accuses him of lying about his exes and how they treated him, and Geoff challenges her immediately. Oh, you're going to believe some random woman's word over mine? And she says, correct, you manipulated me and I fell for it and I shan't again. And she also said something like, oh, whether I am found guilty, if I found guilty or not, I'll never have to sleep with you.
I know.
It's like, oh, Yasmeen, that's the best thing. She didn't even say anything like, I would never shag you in a million years, did she?
Again, she knows.
She's very sweet. She's very sweet. She's basically saying, I'm never going to come back to you. It doesn't matter if I'm found guilty or not. I'll stay in prison. I don't care. It doesn't matter because I never have to be around you again. And then Geoff says, what time is it? And she says, oh, it's nearly 8 o'clock. And he says, your choice, bitch. That's right. I'm the only one that gets to say that word one time.
He said it on the Magic Box scene as well. It is funny because, like, you know, you watch normal TV and they throw a lot worse around. But then when Coronation Street does crack out the old bitch, it's like, it has more of an impact than
I can just imagine the
4-letter word.
In my mind, I imagine the Ofcom person is like this lady with a severe bun and like glasses on a string, and she's got a piece of paper in front of her, and she hears the word bitch, and her eyes narrow and her lips purse, and she gets her pen and she like does a 1.
And
she sits there and waits.
Got a tally chart.
Like
next
when is the next? You better not say that again. You get 1 bitch per episode.
1 per season.
And you're on one. You're still on the first season of Coronation Street.
We let Elsie and Janet get away with it on that 1970s episode of Coronation Street.
Well,
Mary Whitehouse came down on us like a ton of bricks. So
you watch yourself. He says, your choice, bitch. Get used to that view from your window because you're going to be in that prison for a very, very long time. Then that must have played on her mind because Friday's episode begins with a dream sequence, and it's not immediately apparent it's a dream sequence. We start with a very muted grey palette, and maybe a little bit of strange camera work because it zooms in on her face. It's a bit higher than it normally would be. She's shuffling through into the common area of the prison, and she gets given her breakfast, and there's a familiar sounding voice. She looks up, and it's Geoff there wearing a prison guard's uniform. And then he sort of like...
Doesn't he have a mask on as well?
Yes, he pulls a mask off. And then we look up to the balcony, like above, and there's another 2 Geoffs over there as well. Oh my God, surrounded by Geoffs. Can't think of anything worse. And basically, he just kind of said... What does he say? I'm a ghost. I'm spooky, spooky dream man.
He's just like, you're going to be trapped in here with me forever or something. And he does his he does his poof into the Great Magnifico, doesn't he?
Yeah, I liked it. There was a bit of a sort of... a lag on the camera, like a bit of a kind of a... I don't know what you call it when it's kind of like...
It's to do with the film
blurry
stock or the FPS or something like that.
I thought it was great.
I understand these things.
I understand that people probably didn't like it, but... Should we talk about...
We'll talk about this now. Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the dream sequence, and I know that some people might be surprised by this, but I mean, Corrie has done 3 dream sequences in recent years, to my mind. There was the Pat Phelan one where Andy was asleep dreaming about him, and he was
being buried by all these giant pats.
no, he wasn't being buried by giant pats. He was Pat was with him on the street, wasn't he? And he was swinging at him with a
Chasing him.
plank, and he kept knocking down Pat. And then
Wasn't there another one? I'm sure that there were 2 Pat Phelan dream sequences.
was there one?
Anyway,
I
there's
can
that.
remember Pat sitting up in bed once. There was that anyway. There was also the one with Gemma where she dreamt about putting the babies in the washing machine, which was earlier this year. Although I like the dream sequences, I was like, I don't need more than one every couple of years. So watch out, Coronation Street. And then,
Don't do any
and
more.
then there was this one.
They're
It
only
kind of-
effective when they're not done very often.
Yeah. Although this one and the Gemma one were both effective in that it takes a little while to realise that this is a dream sequence. But yeah, because Coronation Street is like, we do this now. In my brain, it's like,
Deal with it.
Okay. But if I put aside my usual hatred of all things wibbly wobbly with the camera and the music, I thought they were great. And having all the Geoffs there was fantastic next to each other. He's just got such a smackable face, that Geoff, hasn't he? And the gleeful look at this slimy, like, you're in here with me, ta-da, you know? He's just, he's vile.
I love the fact that he was like, you don't have to socially distance when it's yourself. Ha ha ha! I can be as close as I want. That's right.
Maybe that's how they can get away with some of the social distancing issues.
I was just saying it was just a dream.
Just split screen it or whatever
just
it
say it
is
was a
they do it
dream.
these days. Yeah, it was a really great dream sequence, I thought.
Forgot to say that the last scene of Wednesday's episode, when they were on the phone together, was another split screen one. And this, to me, justified the other 2 that I really did not like.
Yeah, same.
Because we had established it as a way that they were using to tell the story. But the only time I thought it was effective was in this scene when Geoff's mask began to slip and you could see him struggling to react to what she was saying and not really knowing how to play the game to win her back.
I think it worked very, very well. And I think, if they hadn't done it last week, it might have caught me off guard and I would have been too focused on, the bloody split screen. I hate it when they do things like this in Coronation Street. But
you didn't
Wednesday,
need it in the other 2.
Okay, they're doing it again. Let's just focus on what they're saying. Oh, this is a great script.
Yeah.
Oh, look at their reactions. So I totally bought it. Very, very,
and it
very
also
nicely
sets
done.
up an easy way, not that they need to do this because they wouldn't be in the same room, but to film phone calls. Why am I talking about this? Socially distanced phone calls, as all phone calls are.
Yeah. Never mind.
So they had a bit of fancy, weird camera stuff and different things that they were playing around with this story. So the dream sequence and the split screen telephone calls were 2 of those. These worked this week, I thought, but I understand some people won't like them. So Tim at the Metcalfs is worried about... Is he going to be on the stand? He's worried about Paula interrogating...
Yeah. I think Tim's going to be saying that he was going to be questioned about that.
And also the fact that his wife's going to be a witness for the other side, which really admittedly doesn't look good for the family. Geoff comes in and Geoff has totally changed his tune. I think Tim is a bit surprised at his another flip because last time you heard... He was going on about how wonderful Yasmeen was and how it wasn't her fault. And now he's like, let's get the cow.
He's done the total volte-face, hasn't he?
What?
Volte-face.
I've never heard that in my life.
Volte-face? Yes, it means it's turning around, isn't it? It's like doing a 180.
All right.
Bow down before my magnificent vocabulary.
Okay. He does mention worrying about there being a surprise witness. So he's trying to lay a foundation so that people aren't going to be surprised when or if this woman turns up at court.
Yeah, because he says, what if somebody comes and you know what these lawyers are like? They're sneaky, they're going to jump. I mean, it kind of does still make him look bad because if he's truly, truly innocent, then no surprise witness is going to be able to...
I know. And also, nobody is that bothered about someone that they would just deliberately go to court on someone else's behalf who they don't even know just to stitch them up.
No.
Well, some people are, I guess, but you'd have to be a complete psychopath.
I'm hoping that it's partly been put in there to get... Although I don't think there was that much of a reaction from Tim, but it just might be something that when the penny starts to drop for him, he'll go, oh yeah, he was a bit weird about this last week as well. I don't know.
Ryan and Jenny are talking in the back of the Rovers. It's nice to see Jenny again. He was asking if he could go to court, and this is when we find out the window cleaner's dad has died of COVID, so hope those seals on the windows are good when he comes to actually wash it for real. We had the window cleaner come round again today, didn't we?
Yes.
To watch them.
I just handed him cash.
I know. He never wears a mask.
He doesn't.
Were you going to say something else?
No.
Yasmeen tells Imran about Elaine.
Oh yeah, Imran's going to visit her in the prison.
Yes, that's right.
I think that was one place where the distancing looked a bit off, because Yasmeen's sitting there
No,
one
but
side
it's
of the table
not-
and
no.
Imran was stood a bit far back.
No, because they're supposed to be socially distanced.
Oh yeah.
Silly.
Good job, Child DeMello.
Excellent social
And
distancing.
Dave, security guard.
Yes. So this is where it's going to start to get a bit mind bending, isn't it? When you're got into your brain that they shouldn't be socially distancing from each other because they're in a family unit, but then it switches to someone else who should be socially distancing.
Yeah.
So you've got to be careful about.
Yeah, and then
About
they just
which one's
throw
which.
Bernie and Brian getting into a car together, and
It's all right if you wind the windows down.
maybe
they were
they've
going
got
to
a
a
plastic
castle.
screen.
They were going to a castle to check
So
their
their
eyes.
eyesight.
All right, so Yasmeen in prison is telling socially distanced Imran about Elaine Jones, who has come to talk to her, and Imran's very excited because that means they could have another witness, and he does make a big point of saying about what it is that they are going to do and what their strategy is, don't they?
He's just getting very excited about it.
No, but we've pondered about what the court case is going to be like, and I've said, a few times about what's really going on here, what's the trial about, etc., etc. But he says if we can use her to prove that he was abusive, then we can
get you off.
Exactly.
Very, very excited by this, and then she goes and spoils the mood by collapsing in front of him.
She got overexcited. That's what happened. She collapses on the floor. Then we have a street scene where Elaine is carrying around the corner watching Geoff and Tim get into the car as Ryan washes the windows. And Alia runs over to Ryan and says that Yasmeen has collapsed, and then Elaine kicks the bucket. In surprise.
Literally.
She kicks the bucket and runs away. I don't know what...
I don't know what the point of that was. I don't know why she needed to be there. Or
No, I
anything.
don't know why either, but perhaps we'll find out at a later point.
I mean, Ryan saw her, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he's obviously related to the story, so he's going to say, "Oh yeah, there was some weird-looking woman creeping around the corner."
She wasn't weird looking. She was nice looking.
She was, she was acting strangely, suspiciously. Yeah.
So Geoff and Yasmeen storm back home. Geoff and Tim storm back home later, and Geoff is totally convinced that she's faked a heart attack to buy time, and Tim's like, "Oh, I wonder if she's got that coronavirus." He's like, "Score! I get to say it first on Coronation Street." Ryan and Alia go to the hospital together, and Alia's been told it is a heart attack, and she is beside herself, worrying what happens if she loses another family member. She's misplaced so many already.
I think that she speaks on behalf of all Coronation Street viewers here, where we don't want Alia to be the last Nazir standing. That's just not fair on us.
That'd be cruel beyond belief. Ryan reminds her that Yasmeen is strong.
Because that's all you need, isn't it? Strong will, and you beat that heart attack.
Exactly.
I mean, to be
If
fair,
she dies, it's because she wasn't trying hard enough.
Yasmeen, she's quite frail, isn't she?
Not frail. She's a game old bird, that's what I say. Right, so we've talked about the dream sequence reactions. What did you think about poor Yasmeen?
Oh, I wish they hadn't spoiled it on the front of the soap magazines and on Twitter
What did it
and
say?
on everything. Yasmeen heart attack drama.
Oh.
Did you not know that this was going to happen?
I don't really go on... I don't really see stuff on Twitter like that. I don't think.
Did you not see this stuff?
I don't think I did.
Oh, well, good for you. So what did you think about it? Because I thought, oh, here it is.
I thought, oh God, that was inconvenient. Which I think I was supposed to think that.
It does make me wonder, like, was that always the plan?
I don't know.
Or is it another way that Coronation
irritating.
Street have delayed the story? Not
I don't
because
really
they want
them
to string it
keep
out,
doing
but
this.
because maybe, I mean, they've said that they're not going to be able to do any trial scenes unless they sort of recreate the court in Media City, which I think is a bit impractical. So maybe, but then they don't know how long this is going to go on, so they can't delay the trial indefinitely until COVID's gone, just so they can film a scene in the court.
They could just do like a really ropey, like on Zoom calls now where you can have fake backgrounds.
Yeah.
They could just do a really ropey like court scene with like the judge like sitting in front of this fake wood panelling, trying not to move their hair too much because it would reveal that they're sitting in front of a bookcase.
I know all about green screen, Gemma. Have you not seen my amazing intro video to re-rate all 375 Coronation Street regular characters Part 3 1970s?
Was that on the Conversation Street YouTube channel?
It is indeed. Just a little plug.
Check it out on youtube.com.
Yeah, I mean, it's irritating in a way, but I'm not irritated. I want there to be the trial.
Yeah, I want to get this.
It's not like I want to get it over with. I'm just really eager to find out what happens.
Yeah. No, I don't see how. I don't see how the plot's going to progress without doing the court case, so I'm a bit annoyed.
No, I mean, Yasmeen is going to be, stuck in hospital or prison again. And
I tell you one thing.
She needs to be out to either be under Geoff's spell or not.
Do you know what? You know when he put the porridge down in front of her? I was expecting him to lift the cloche and there'd be a dead chicken or a chicken's head.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I thought there would be.
That would have been good. I think that would have been a bit too much for 7:30, though, to be fair.
I think the chances of Yasmeen going back to Geoff now are very, very low.
Yeah, I do. Can I just say, I mean, are we just assuming that she's going to be absolutely fine from this heart attack and she may be in hospital for a little bit and that it's not going to affect her long term in any kind of way?
Story if she just dies now, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And Geoff says, "I told you."
Which is, it's a shame because things like heart attacks should be, it should get the viewers worried about a character, but I don't know if it ever does.
It doesn't feel like she's in peril. It just feels like an inconvenient.
Yeah.
It feels like the end of a chapter in a Goosebumps book.
I did like how Geoff was accusing her, not to her face, obviously, of buying time and everything, just seeing his frustration. But I suppose...
I think he knows time's ticking and we're going to run out for him now. If Elaine's sniffing around, who knows what else is going to come to light. He needs a swift trial now because the less people start to put the clues together, the more likely he is to get away with all of this. The longer they have to build Yasmeen's defence, the worse off for him because everybody knows the facts of the case. The situation that he's in has not changed, but the circumstances surrounding it are slowly becoming more apparent the longer they have to work on it. And now Imran's going to have extra time to find this Elaine person, presumably from Ryan, who says, yeah, that lady came and kicked the bucket right in front of the Rovers, just like Robert earlier in the year.
Yeah, and where was Aggie to sort it out this time? Too busy working on the COVID
Another
ward.
Victim of COVID-19.
So Elaine then, I thought she was brilliant.
She has been in Coronation Street before, this actress.
She has. Paula Wilcox played Ray Langton's sister back in the 1960s, late 60s,
so
I think, early 70s.
She is Tracy's aunt.
Yes, in a way, I guess she is. Obviously, playing a different character. You know me, I am not very good at all with actors and actresses unless they're from an incredibly small pool. I don't know them, but I think she's a famous actress.
Oh, okay.
I think she's been in other things, but don't ask me what. All I know is that she was in Coronation Street in the 60s in for a couple of episodes. But she straight away, she's one of these actresses that's like, I like you, please stay.
She's very good.
I don't think there's any need at all for her to stay. No. She's one of these characters that's come in to help give the storyline a little push.
Storyline, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know, like in the John Lindsay story when one of his ex-wives came along and was like, you told me he was a pilot as well.
It's always an ex coming ruining it for the men.
I know. She was fantastic. Her little looks, at the worry that she had on her face while she was waiting to speak to Yasmeen.
She's a good actress.
She looked very kind of meek and mousy and she's because of it just shows some of the long-term effects that coercive control can have on you, that she's absolutely petrified to speak to anybody about Geoff, to be around where she knows Geoff lives, to see him again for the first time in who knows how many years.
Yeah.
She absolutely played a blinder, and it just goes to show the difference
Acting.
that a real quality actress can give. Not that I'm saying that the rest of the Coronation Street cast were a load of rubbish, obviously.
She made Ryan look like absolute pile of crap.
Oh, poor Ryan.
What, is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm saying Ryan Prescott's a lovely actor. No, so sometimes they will bring in guest cast.
I know, yes, I know, and they're just they're just there
saying their lines.
They do the job.
They do the job, but honestly, Paula, she went above and beyond. And this is we've only seen her in a couple of episodes. I am really excited to see what she's going to bring to the story next week. I mean, I think we could have an info dump on Geoff's past for one thing.
I don't know how much more I need to know. Honestly, what's
I
the
do.
mystery? She used to go out with him.
I think that she was his first wife who died of breast cancer. Tim,
She's died twice now.
Geoff has been married 3 times. Wife number 3, Yasmeen. Wife number 2, Tim's mum. Tessa, is it?
Tessa.
Yeah. Wife number 1,
Died.
I believe, unnamed wife 1 so far, but I wouldn't be surprised if she's called Elaine. Oh, am I getting this wrong? Anyway, whatever.
You can marry more than one.
I should have looked
you
up
can marry
Wikipedia properly for this.
more than one person.
There was
with
the
the same
first
name,
wife.
Michael.
I don't know which one's Tessa. I can't remember. Sorry. But the first wife, Geoff has said she died of breast cancer,
And that's not Tim's mum. Tim's
Yes.
mum is Tessa.
Tim's,
the
I
second
think so.
wife.
Yeah, and this is a completely different person to the woman who he
Says abused him.
Well, I think he said that they all have to some extent, but the woman in the pub who there was having an argy-bargy with, that when they were getting Claire's Law involved in it, and there was that person, that was somebody completely different, that was just a girlfriend. But yeah, I think this one could very well
That was the one in the paper.
Yes, I think this one could be revealed to be the one that he claims to be dead. Or, I mean, I don't think that he thinks that she's actually dead.
No, I think he might just have lied to get sympathy.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a very dangerous game he's playing, isn't it?
Yeah,
If that's
I know,
the
but
case.
you know
Everything
what
that he's
Geoff is
doing at the
like?
moment is a dangerous game. Talking on the radio, which I mean, the listeners must be in double figures almost. You don't want to be announcing your plans like that, or
What's his plan?
well, or just
It's not like he went. I'm gonna
lying on the air when there are people out there who know what he's like and could be listening in.
Yeah, but I think he's a narcissist, isn't he?
And I just saw you picking up the iPad. Have you been having a little
No, I
look
couldn't
at?
find it because the internet doesn't work.
Oh dear. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. This is what I think. I think it's going to be his first wife.
I think that's a good.
What do you think of that? And then if she starts revealing that, and Tim finds out, there's only so much that Tim can turn a blind eye to all these accusations. If the woman comes along who Tim thinks is dead, because Tim will have talked to Geoff about his past wife beforehand, wouldn't he?
Not that much.
If he realises that he's been lied to for the whole of his life.
Yeah, but I can
He's
see
gonna
Geoff
start to
saying
wonder.
something like, "Yeah, well, she is dead to me."
I was just being figurative.
She said to me, I didn't want to talk about her, so I just decided to say she died so nobody would ask me questions because I hated her so much, or she made my life a misery. There's always a way to get out of it.
I don't know. I think that she could be the key here.
Yeah, I know. All right.
I really do. It's just a shame a little bit that she was being so cagey towards Yasmeen about it, because I can't see why she would have been cagey.
Why have you picked up this Volt Fast thing?
You see, I've written Volt Fast. It's a
But
word.
you must have heard it somewhere this
That's
week.
how I want to I haven't heard it this week.
You suddenly latched
I
onto
don't
it.
think I have. I did have to Google it this morning just to check that it was actually a word. But I was pretty sure.
Even after nearly 10 years of marriage, you can still surprise me.
Yeah, why didn't she say to Yasmeen, I was his first wife? Unless she has gone into hiding and Geoff does think that she's dead.
Either one is plausible.
But if you're married to someone, can they pretend to be dead?
Let's find out.
I don't know. It almost felt like she was being a bit cagey for the sake of the viewer.
Pretend you're dead.
But you can't pretend to die of breast cancer.
You can say, I'm going to die in my parents' house.
No, don't come.
I've died.
Unless,
Please send flowers.
I mean, I suppose she could have, escaped him and his controlling behaviour, and whilst she was ill and he might have received a letter afterwards saying
Let's
that
not
she's
get
dead.
too involved in the hows and the whys before we know.
I'm just theorising.
I know, but I'm just saying to you, it is a TV show. They don't need to provide a reason why Geoff categorically believed his wife was dead. Geoff is the kind of person, if he moved on to somebody else, I don't think he'd give two figs about what happened to her.
The other option, I suppose, is this is Tim's mum, isn't it? That's a possibility.
Well, that would explain why she was so shocked when she saw them both and kicked the bucket over.
Yeah, but I don't know why. I can't remember where we are at with Tim's relationship with his mum, and is she estranged or?
I don't think I without wanting to victim blame, I don't know why you would leave an abusive relationship and let your son stay there with somebody who was that manipulative.
Yeah.
But, you know, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first, don't you?
And she says that her name is Elaine Jones, but that could well be a fake name, couldn't it? But I think the fact that Yasmeen just happened to drop in Jones, I think it's Elaine Jones, that's Imran's going to search that. He needs to know the full name next week, so he's going to be Googling it or getting some of his police mates to do a bit of a police database search.
Get Daniel to bloody do it. That's what he's employed for, innit?
Daniel
works at the solicitor's office now, supposedly.
He's too busy.
He's got to earn that fancy money.
He's too busy with his head in Nikki's chest. Anyway, what else have we got to talk about?
Nestling in twins.
We've talked about the phone call scene. I did think that Yasmeen should have kept it down a little bit because she was going a bit.
I said that. She's in the cell
with her secret
shouting
phone.
One half of a conversation.
Unless it's a padded cell, Yasmeen. I don't think it was. You need
She's
to keep
either
the noise down when you're on the bum
that
phone.
phone confiscated, or she's going to get taken off to be sectioned. I said to you, if I was Geoff, because once she stood up to him on the phone, that's when he completely unmasked himself and became completely furious with her. The first thing I would have done if I was Geoff would be to report her for having a phone.
He did mention, didn't he? He mentioned, oh, you're on an illegal phone. He totally should have done.
That's what I would have done to get her in trouble.
I mean, we all saw what happened to Jim McDonald when he was caught with his illegal phone. He was dragged away kicking and screaming.
Because even if she gets found not guilty of the crime that she's up for, do they just, if you do anything wrong in prison, do they go, no, it was our fault for putting you in there?
Yeah.
Oh, you should have been there. So it's all...
Don't worry about that hooch racket you had.
And that person you beat to death with a pool cue. I mean,
anything
really
goes in prison when you're not guilty.
Mea culpa.
We'd have all done it.
We've all been there, really.
I'm hoping that the phone calls stop now. I mean,
we don't need any more.
We had a great scene with them, but I don't need that to be a major part of the story anymore. But you're right, Geoff could drop it in, but the whole. It seems to me that every single person that goes to prison in Coronation Street gets a dodgy phone at some point. I don't know how much this reflects. I think it's rife, but is it that rife?
I think some of them even have their own Instagram accounts and stuff, because some of the prison riots, they had that prison riot, didn't they? Earlier this year or last year, I can't remember. But they had that was on bloody Instagram.
Wasn't that this year? Because they were writing about COVID stuff.
Were they? Well, my point stands either way. They were live streaming it, so
yeah. Anyway, I was thinking that Yasmeen, I don't know whether it would have been better if she'd have, kept that card close to her chest until court, because if she'd have gone along with Geoff's story and been like, yeah, okay, I'll stay quiet. You get me off. You let me home. And then as soon as she'd have come home, she'd be like, no way, I've read a book about this. Screw you, Geoff.
No, she's not that kind of person.
She's given Geoff the chance to, come up with more excuses and change.
Yeah, she has. She's given him an advantage, but I think Yasmeen is not really concerned with that so much as freeing herself from the mental prison of being in a relationship with Geoff.
Do you think that
I think she's done that now, and I think that she was right when she said that she doesn't care where she is anymore. She could stay in prison for the rest of her life and it would still be worth it to her to be free of him, and she is now. So her soul is free, but her body may be in prison.
And she works at the library.
I mean, it's
dream gig.
actually what she always wanted, because when she first started the show, they closed the library and demolished it, and she was devastated.
Oh yeah, they did a sit-in at the library, didn't they?
And
It's
she tried
like
to open
doing
one
it again now.
in Roy's Cafe, and it didn't really work out. So she's just really gone back to her.
Yeah. Who needs librarians anymore? It's all on ebook, not in prisons though.
No, you can't have a Kindle in prison.
No. So do you think then, is this the final time that she's changed her mind about this? Because she's been back and forth for months now.
I don't want to speculate anymore on this.
Why?
Because I think there was a point in time, you guys know, that I thought he's gonna forgive her, she's gonna come back to him, and then she's gonna leave him at a certain point down the line. But now I think that's not as likely to happen, because I just think that people's wrongly, I think that people's sympathy would be eroded if she went back to Geoff at this point. I think people aren't really at the stage of
I know, I think people say, for heaven's sake, yeah, it's fine, go back to him, you deserve it.
Yeah, or like, I'm not watching it anymore, or yeah, whatever happens to her now is her own fault.
It was a really, really nice twist on Wednesday when she was like, shut up, Geoff, and she told him, because I felt that she meant it. And she said things like that. She's stood up to him before, but this was the time that it felt that she meant it the most. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to go back on this now and go crawling back to him, oh no, don't.
Well, yeah, but it would be realistic if she did, and you have to understand.
It would, but for
because let's not
plot,
forget also that
storytelling,
that this is a bit of an exceptional circumstance here. And if she had, say, she'd left him, and she hadn't gone to prison, but she'd gone to a women's shelter or something, I don't know how much sense. I mean, to me, it would make sense to say, I'm at this stage of my life, he's got all of my worldly goods, I don't know what would happen if I tried to divorce him, I am alone and scared in the world, I don't have anything, I want my house back, I just want to live in my house, and he wasn't that bad all the time, you know? I can understand how people justify it. It must be even worse when you're young and you have children. I think people that say it's easy to leave an abusive person hasn't ever been in an abusive relationship, because you have to be prepared to walk away from literally everything you've ever worked for in your life. And I don't think many people realistically understand what that really entails.
Yeah. What a quandary.
And she's got an orangery as well. I mean, who would turn her back on that?
Right.
Not Sally Metcalf, that's for sure.
Gaslighting, yeah. So if Yasmeen moves out, Sally's going to annex that orangery, isn't she? Yasmeen said I could have it, honestly. Right, gaslighting. So, Monday, we last saw Adam with Laura last week, didn't we? And she was waving her keys to the safety deposit box in his face, almost to bait him into wanting to have a look. And he has indeed taken a photograph of it, and he's looking at them on Monday just to remind us that he's got it in for old Gaza. Now, he pretends to be Gary on the phone later on. It all felt very unrealistic to me. But the long and short of it is he was pretending to be Gary.
This wasn't unrealistic. This is social engineering. This is how lots of hackers work now.
He was pretending to be Gary, phoning up the safety deposit box people, safe as houses, saying...
Safe as houses.
What was he saying?
He basically phoned
my
up
right
and went,
details?
Look, I'm not getting any post from you guys. I've moved house, and I want to make sure that you're still sending me bills out, because they haven't arrived. Can you just check? And they say, is that your address is so-and-so Victoria Court? Well, no, he says, yeah, my name is Gary Windass. And they're like, oh, yes, your address here is listed at so-and-so Victoria Court. And he says, oh, yes, and that's for lockbox so-and-so. And they're like, yeah. So it makes perfect sense to me that if you're on the end of the phone, you would totally be tricked into telling him everything you wanted to know, because he already knew most of it.
It just felt quite convenient. You know, Corrie does that sometimes.
This is what happens in real life. I'm telling you.
Okay.
If you worked at a safety deposit box and somebody phoned up and went, hi, have you got my address down right? My name's Gary Windass and I've got a thing with you. And you went, oh yeah, it's Victoria Court. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, don't worry about it. Yeah, so that, you know what I mean? How many times have you made a mistake like that? Everyone's done it.
You're right. It's just lucky for Adam.
Adam is a sneak.
And he's a charmer, isn't he?
And he's got that Scottish accent that gets people off their guard.
Yeah, although the people at Safest Houses must have at some point gone, hang on a minute, Gary wasn't Scottish the last time that we spoke to him. Because later on in the episode, they're phoning Gary back saying, did you ring us earlier? Sorry, we just gave you details to somebody else. Sorry, don't sue us, please.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a scene with R. Kelly later on, didn't we? She's got a bruise on her arm because it turns out that Laura, when she has a bit too much to drink, gets a bit violent. And
she's turned into a right villain, this minxy Laura, isn't she?
She has. And Gary gives R. Kelly £20 to buy herself something nice.
R. Kelly has clearly never been taught to not take money from grown men.
I know.
There's a really
so
weird
dodgy.
dynamic between teenage girls and grown men on the street at the moment, and it really just needs to stop.
I know. She
tucks it in her dungaree top pocket, doesn't she, at the top? Thanks very much. I'm gonna put this right here
down a clavage. Anyway, she jokes to him that he's got a guilty conscience about something, and he obviously
I think I'd feel dirty if I took money off of a grown man as a teenage girl.
I know.
I think it's like, buy me a milkshake, but don't give me money.
But she does come from the wrong side of the tracks, doesn't she? The Neelan family.
Who knows what Laura's done for 20 quid.
Exactly. She may well have seen her mum doing, a lot worse than that. Laura goes to the furniture shop later.
Yeah, no, well then
this is when the safety deposit
box people. Oh. Hi, Gary. Just to let you know, we gave out your information to a Scottish man on the phone earlier. Sorry, goodbye. Thanks for choosing Safest Houses.
It's quite ironic, isn't it, that a place called Safest Houses is so flagrant with their GDPR regulations.
Hi, is that Mr. Windass? Yeah, it's Safest Houses deposit box people. Just checking that you know that we named ourselves that ironically.
Yeah, I know, totally. We also make sure that, although. No, I'm just trying to make some kind of reference to Rick's stupid safety deposit box where Gary guessed his password. But I don't know what to say about
that. All our codes are based on famous dates. Which one do you want? 1066? 1776?
Anyway, Laura goes round to the furniture shop later and to say, have you seen R. Kelly recently?
Every time she says R. Kelly, I laugh my butt off. I know every single other person who says this or like Toya or Leanne or whatever.
They don't use it that much, do they?
She's never said Kelly without saying R. Kelly, and I wish they would stop doing it because this guy is still a paedophile, rapist. Rap star. We don't need to keep saying his name on television all the time.
I know. He's in a grump later and says, you've been beating at your daughter, haven't you? Rick's not going to be happy when I tell him.
Oh, yeah. Then they have a confrontation.
They do. They're one of the last in-your-face confrontations that Coronation Street's going to be having for a long time.
And he says, while I'm able, I'm going to get right in your face and tell you off.
Yeah, doesn't he slam up against the wall? Yeah. Doesn't he do a Ken and Deirdre move on her? Mm-hmm. And she's like, you've actually turned into him.
And then she goes, clop, 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 clop.
Which Adam sees. This is all that Gary's ever wanted, to be told that he's turned into Rick Neelan, because it's what he's been aiming for the past 12 months. I know, but what
he should have done, if they wanted maximum drama, is to have him stand in the furniture shop, look at a mirror, look down at the floor, and then smash the mirror because he doesn't want to look at himself.
They could have had him look at the mirror the way that the directing was going. It had him look in the mirror and just the image of
Rick.
Yeah.
And Rick going, "Shall I shake my head at you? Not even I would stoop so low."
As to what?
That hairstyle.
Adam chases Laura down the ginnel on Wednesday's episode, and she's like, "I'm fed up with Gary. He's not ringing Rick. I just want to speak to Rick myself." Blah blah blah. Adam goes back to Imran again. Imran, if he sees Adam coming, he should be like, "Go away. I'm not interested."
I honestly think that this whole time Adam has been sort of trying to work out a strategy with Imran, and Imran's just going, He's not listening to a bloody word he's saying. As soon as Adam comes up to him and goes, "Gary," Imran's just like,
The thing is, Imran should be, and he occasionally is, super invested in this because it's all linked to Rana, isn't it? Because
he's going to kick himself when he works out that Adam's been after Gary because of Rana's death.
Well, no, I think Imran thinks that Rick was involved in Rana's death, doesn't he? Because the story that's been bandied about at the moment is that Rick was the one responsible for the roof collapse.
So why is Imran so interested?
I wouldn't say he's uninterested. It's just Adam that's doing all the hard work, isn't it? I mean, so as Toya said last week, Imran's up to his eyeballs in the Yasmeen case at the moment. But he's just it's all Adam versus Gary at the moment, and I think Imran they should be showing a bit more interest. He's just there to be debriefed to after the latest scuffle. Don. Yeah,
you would have a bit more of a personal interest, and you would be a bit more intrigued of the fact that. This person who's supposed to have killed your sister is somewhere.
Yeah,
still handing money out.
Well, anyway, Imran.
I guess it just gets a bit annoying because Adam doesn't really care about Rick. He just cares about Gary.
Anyway, Imran at this point says, "Let's move this little tete-a-tete to the Victoria Gardens where we can sit 2 meters apart from each other on 2 different benches
and talk really loudly."
Yeah, and watch as Gary comes down the street so that we can jump him and say, "We know what you've done." Because this is when Gary goes up to him, doesn't he? And he's like, you've been chatting with Laura and you seem very interested in R. Kelly at the moment. And
well, I just like his music. I know his personal life is not the best.
I Believe I Can Fly, classic.
That is a classic tune.
Space Jam.
Favourite film.
Adam then comes out with his big accusation because he's started to put pieces together. He's managed to put 2 and 2 together to make 4. Well, I don't know how he managed
Same way Gary managed to open the safety deposit box.
I think that he might have actually killed Rick Nealon, says Gary. Banging the nail right on the head there. Adam, sorry. And this is what he says to Gary, doesn't he? Gary's walking off. And Gary...
No. He says, "Why did you kill him?"
Oh, yeah, he says it to his face, doesn't he?
Yeah, why did you kill
Gary's
him?
like, "You've lost the plot."
Yeah.
And
he's like, "I've got the script right here, actually."
And besides, you don't get any evidence. He literally...
I like the way he says... He's like, "I didn't do it."
But completely deny it.
I didn't do it.
If I did do it, you've got no evidence against me. And then Adam says, "Oh, stay safe as houses."
The safety deposit box company.
Yes, I'm on to you, Milado.
They only called it Safe as Houses so that they could have that, and I bet you they spent ages trying to think of a company name that they could throw into conversation.
Well, it's as a final zinger.
Yeah.
So that was quite exciting ending to that episode. Then it gets even better on today's. I'm glad I'm more into the story now this week.
I think it was really casual the way that Adam just kind of decided to accuse Gary of murder and doesn't seem to be too concerned about confronting a murderer or wondering what Gary might do to him if he could kill a criminal loan shark with his own bodyguard, Sharon. I
just find it a little bit, unlikely.
I don't mind. I just think
he would jump to.
Yeah, it does seem a bit odd, but I don't really care.
And I know that's how you deal with folk round in Weatherfield parts, but
just bury them in the
usually
woods.
People don't seem to notice. Gary and Adam have some socially distanced sparring in the cafe at the beginning of Friday's episode.
Look, on Wednesday, Adam's like, "You murdered Rick," and then on Friday he's like, "You better not give me coronavirus because that would be 2 dead then, wouldn't it?"
Now, meanwhile, Brian has got a metal detector, and that's when he came on the screen with that. Like, what's he going to be doing this time? What crazy capers is Brian up to this week? Oh, he's found a pound underneath a mat in the cabin.
Next
How hilarious!
Thing you know, he's going to be digging up
Albert Tatlock's allotment.
Digging up Albert Tatlock's bum. Never did get that shrapnel out.
So apparently, somebody has found some Roman coins over in the Greg Woods. They actually said the name of the woods in the episode, didn't they? I don't think it's relevant at all because we know it's just the Greg Woods. And he and Brian is now determined.
He's written he wants to go hunting with his meta detector. Ooh, what would you find?
A bit fourth wall breaking there. I think you've just said a soap phrase of doom. Beep, 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 beep.
We'll have to remember that, won't we? Brian's meta detector.
And his metal detector. And Gary tells
Beep, 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 beep. Gary tells him.
Brian says, I'm going to go digging up, see what I can find. See if there's any Roman coins left around. And Gary says, that's a bad idea, mate. The place is going to be crawling with would-be treasure hunters. Now, if I were you, I'd go somewhere where nobody else goes. And
Like anywhere else.
Anywhere else.
But to be fair, it probably is crawling with people. I think Brian is the least of Gary's worries when it comes to who's going to dig up Rick's corpse. If really somebody hasn't found Roman coins, is in trouble for more than just Brian.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is why.
Even if he puts Brian off, though.
Yeah, but which is why he jumps into his van so as soon as he can, and with a shovel in hand to go. I don't know what was his plan, to go and dig up Rick himself in the middle of the day.
No.
With plenty of witnesses all around with their metal detectors.
Gary's like, Roman coins, I'm on that. Do you know what?
I run an antique shop.
God damn it. That explains all those bloody coins I buried him on top of. 30 old coins.
Yeah. No, he's... I think he's just... Yeah, he was going to go and dig up Rick, wasn't he?
Can I just say this makes a bit more sense what happens later, but I'll say... He
jumps in his van, not that we see this. Bernie, she's in this story now.
Hello,
it's me, Bernie. I'm escaping the quads. She says, Brian, I've just seen Gary chucking a shovel in the back of a van. I reckon he's screwing you over, and the only reason he told you not to go and dig up the Greg Woods yourself
because he wants to do it.
So Brian's like,
and then she says,
very dare he.
I'm amazing at finding things. I'll help you. And everyone goes, meta detector's going off there.
That was the meta detector. That was totally the meta detector. Because, I don't know how many other people immediately thought, that's how she was able to find Gemma's engagement ring on the Welsh hills in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night, within about 5 minutes last year. She's got super ring finding powers.
Take her with you.
Yeah.
So they go off together, don't they?
She should be an archaeologist, shouldn't she?
Mm.
What are we doing? They're going to go off together to the woods and see what they can find.
Meanwhile, Adam and Laura.
Oh yeah, she's in full on seduction mode, isn't she?
She's lounging on that
skanky sofa in the lawyer's office. I bet if Daniel had been there, he'd been right on her.
Yeah, just let me talk to you about my childhood.
Hey, Laura, say SERP. Sarah walks in on this. And it's about time she did, really, because Adam's been sniffing around Laura, trying to get the dirt on Rick for many weeks now. He doesn't need to anymore,
I don't think.
No, I think he's got all that he needs to offer her. So she's trying to seduce her, and he hasn't got the time. Because I
don't have time for that. I've
got drama to go on with.
I've only got one woman after bloody would.
So Sarah comes in with her Costa coffees and almost drops them when she sees that this woman's, getting her baps out for her husband. She would have done if she'd have been
if he'd asked.
If she would. And then Gary's
she's like, who's this trollop? And Sarah says,
yeah, Adam's like,
I'm his wife.
Oh yeah, she says that. She says I'm his wife, and who's this? And Adam says, she's just one of my clients.
This is my sexy client.
I'm handling maintenance payments for her ex, and Laura's not having any of this. She's like, no, you're not. We're an item.
I'm trying to shag him.
He's my future booty call.
Mm.
And Sarah tells her to jog on.
But then she goes, but not before saying, Adam, if you get sick of this nag with a bendy finger, just come my way.
Yeah, basically. So Adam, I did wonder what Adam would say to try and get out of this when he was inevitably going to get in this position. But he just pretty much tells her the truth, really, doesn't he?
Who'd have thought that would be a reasonable gambit?
He's the clue to proving that Gary had something to do with Rick's disappearance. And Sarah's like, oh, and also he said, you know what, I think that Gary killed Rick. And Sarah's like, what the hell are you on about?
She's not happy, is she?
No, she's
for some reason this doesn't placate her particularly.
Well, she's probably having flashbacks about Callum being buried under the annex when Rick gets dug up in the woods next week, or assuming that that's what's going to happen. There's no spoilers out, I really don't know, but all I do know is that they're building up to what would have been Britain's Got Talent week. In fact, I don't know whether today's episode was the start of Britain's Got Talent week. I'm not sure.
Oh, we get Britain's Got Talent fortnight.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Well, it depends how much the rewrites did, and I think whatever's going to happen, it's not going to be as bombastic as it would have done. But yeah, that's why this week was so exciting. it's around Britain's Got Talent time.
Then they have a socially distanced car chase, which we don't see.
Yeah, because they can't film in the woods, can they? And it makes me wonder. Like, there's
That's
a
really
few times
annoying.
thinking, would they have actually showed
The
Bernie
thing is,
and Brian in the woods?
But listen though, ever since Rick got buried in those Greg woods, we have been waiting for them to return to that scene of the crime so they can dig him up. And I don't know if we're going to get to see that now. And
No.
it actually makes me upset because that is a payoff that we've been robbed of now.
And there's nowhere on the set that they can, dress up to
Do
make
some
it
paper
look like
mache.
the woods.
Paper mache tree.
Literally, the only greenery is in Victoria Gardens, and the tree outside of Audrey's salon. I don't think that's going to cut it.
Not really.
I suppose they've got the nice gardens with the maisonettes as well, haven't they? But yeah, it's a real shame that we're just going to have to hear about things like this. And we were a bit confused when Brian and Bernie got back, weren't they? Because I don't know whether we missed it, but we were saying, are they talking about Gary chasing?
Well, she's going, oh, he was following us, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and it is Gary. He found them digging around
In the woods.
very handily in the exact spot, it transpires, that he buried Rick. And he's had a go at them, saying, look, you need to, go home, stop digging around up here, what did I tell you? So Gary arrives on the street. Brian's all for, kowtowing to Gary and say, because he doesn't want to get hit by him or something. But Bernie goes up and says, look, don't you tell us what to do. We're going to go right back to those woods and dig up the whole place. Yeah, like that. Nah. Gary's response,
I don't
smash
like
up
that.
the metal detector.
Yes, so take this.
Yes, which was quite an exciting scene.
I like that.
And then he realises that he's maybe going a bit too far, and he apologises for
And
losing
it's
his
to buy
temper.
him a new one.
Yes, and it was a present and everything.
It was a Christmas present.
Sarah comes out and says, "What's
Well,
going
she's
on
watching
here
the
then?"
whole thing.
Yeah, and he's like, "Sorry, I'm just overreacting, stressed out at the moment."
What can possibly be his reason for explaining why he smashed up the metal detector at this point? His original objection was that he didn't want them to go because he said it would be too crowded. So what's he gonna, bashing it, going, I'm just worried about your personal safety and social distancing in the
you're right.
woods because of the ongoing pandemic.
Stay at home, save lives, protect the NHS.
Smash!
Think of Aggie. Anyway.
Literally, there's no logical reason why he's smashing this up now. He can't even think of an excuse.
Well, he's just riled up and
He's
he's
just going,
worried.
"Look,
He's
I'm
like
just
Geoff.
angry."
He's losing grip on this
Yeah.
situation that he's found himself
Sorry,
in.
I'm just angry.
Yeah. So anyway,
Okay,
we
to
then cut
counselling.
to Bernie getting home, who reveals to the camera, "Oh look, I've got a watch that says to Rick from Laura, kiss kiss."
But wait, that's the name of the man what Gary murdered.
'Tis indeed.
And isn't that his wife?
Yeah. But I don't know whether Bernie knows
No,
either
she's
of
got
them.
no idea.
I don't
She
think.
wouldn't have looked at it like score. She'd have been like, concerning. Because she wants to sell it. She doesn't give a crap.
I guess she does, doesn't she? She's going to try and flog this.
She's either going to
watch.
flog it or she's going to give it to somebody as a horrible gift.
I don't think that she would give it to someone
No,
if it's
if
worth
she tries-
something,
yeah, if she tries to
which
sell it
it
and
will
it's not
be
worth
because it's a loan
anything.
shark's watch.
Yeah, but he might have like a rough one.
There is no way that Rick Neelan would be wearing a cheap piece of tat, although it did have a nasty engraving on the back of it. That
It's going to be hard to shift. I
just
wonder...
reminds me of that engraving that Lorraine had on her iPod
I
that one
know.
time with a what was it? Did it have a missing apostrophe or something?
Lorraine's iPod hands is
Oh
off.
yeah, hands off with an apostrophe in. Terrible. I
And
think
she had
it
like
looked
3
really tacky.
exclamation marks on it.
Yeah, I thought that this back of the watch looked very, very tacky, and it was
Now-
a nice big font so that we could see it.
There's no reason why Bernie wouldn't actually try to sell this to Gary.
Why? Yeah.
And if she does, he can just buy it.
Because, I mean, we didn't get a good look at the watch, did we? I mean, is it an antique watch? Is it a sundial watch?
But she doesn't... she probably knows loads of people that she could sell a
Back
watch
in the
to.
day, she'd have taken it to Tracy and
I know.
Barlow's Buys, hadn't she?
But if I had a bloke at the end of the road who was clearly buying any old rubbish, I think I'd sell him this crappy old watch because he doesn't... There's no reason that she would think that he would know.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's gonna try and...
But that's going to be helpful. Then the whole thing just gets brushed under the carpet, doesn't it? Again, because the evidence has disappeared.
Yeah, that would be but she still knows. I mean, I think that she might sell it to Gary. She'll either sell it to Gary or she'll sell it to Fizz, and Fizz will somehow be involved. But it feels like I don't really know why Fizz works at that place, because she's only had about 2 scenes.
She's going to sell it to Gary, and then there's going to be this really contrived scene whereby she learns that Rick's missing and his name is Rick and his wife is Laura.
She's going to overhear
and
some people talking about Rick and Laura.
Gadzooks!
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be.
She'll go, oh my God, that corpse I robbed this off was probably Rick.
Okay, yeah, so how did she just find this watch?
I have a theory. Gary's obviously gone to the woods.
Yes.
If he's going to the woods, he's going to do something with or around Rick. I think he dug Rick up, and I think the watch fell off. That's the only thing that makes sense. Why would Gary go there if it wasn't to fix the problem?
Yeah.
And surely by now, Rick is skeletonized in parts. There's not going to be much of him left.
No.
So it would make sense to me that he picked Rick up.
That's really grim.
It is grim.
It was grim enough watching him drag the body back after he'd beaten around the head last year. But no wonder he lost it with a metal detector. If he's just literally dug up a corpse and hidden it, that's enough to put anyone, off whack.
Yeah, that does make sense. Sorry, I'm really cross. I just had to dig up a man's body in the woods. And there were no coins.
Because what I wouldn't believe, although I'm not saying that this wouldn't happen, is that the watch came off during the fight with Gary last year, and it's just been sitting around in the woods for a year. Because somebody would have found that. If Bernie's just gone to the woods and noticed it on the floor...
Yeah, but Michael, she's really good at finding things.
I know. Despite, even though she's got these super jewellery finding powers, somebody else would have found it. I mean, we saw that bloke walking a dog in the woods not long after we buried Rick. So yeah, I think you might be right. I think he might have moved him. So
now the question is, where is he going to put him next?
Yeah, where has he got him? Is he in the back of the van?
Do you reckon he was in the van the whole time when he was chasing Kathy and Bernie and Brian? That's really macabre to imagine.
Maybe put him on the passenger seat,
waving his arm.
Yeah.
That skeleton flipped me off.
Because if you've dug him up, you've got to you can't just put him in another bit of the wood if you're worried that the wood's going to be full of treasure hunters.
Just move him to a different wood.
But he didn't go somewhere else because Bernie and Brian caught him in the woods. Yes, that's what I was going to say.
He was already in the woods. So what did they see, like him with a suspicious bag with like a hand sticking out?
You're talking about his mum, a suspicious bag.
So yeah, he's gonna. So he must have a stinking corpse in the back of his van.
I think that this is turning into. I don't think he will.
He will what?
But I can't think of any other way around it. I'm sure we're missing something.
Because
I can't imagine. If he had a stinking corpse in the back of his van, the last shot of tonight's episode would not be Bernie looking at the watch. It'd be Gary looking at a stinking corpse in the back of the van. And while they're at it, why not do a split screen? Because Corrie does that now.
Split screen of Bernie looking at the watch and a split screen of Gary looking at a bag of bones.
Yeah.
Looking sad.
You're not talking about Yasmeen.
Michael,
that was a Geoff insult, not mine.
Okay, all right, okay. As long as it's...
I was just quoting that cad Geoff Metcalf.
As long as I can find it with my meta detector.
This is a thing now.
Yes, definitely a thing now. Right,
we're probably the only people that have ever thought of that.
You heard it here first. Right, so I think we're done with this now. Mikey was good, Mikey North.
I thought Mikey North was fantastic today. I think he did a really, really good job.
I'm loving him as Evil Gary. I think if he has dug up a corpse, though, I think that's another notch towards ultimate villainy. I don't know that you can come... I mean, we know that Tracy came back from killing Charlie.
I think once you've buried a corpse, you can kind of do what you want with it. I don't think it's going to make you any more villainous.
Legally, no, I don't think you can. No, but do you not think there's definitely a line that is drawn between killing somebody out of self-defense, right? And then the next crime is burying the body to hide the fact you've done this. Because really, the first one you could have got off on that, couldn't you? If he was really trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And then the next one is digging it up, which is repulsive and horrible, and takes somebody with something broken inside of them, don't you think? Burying a corpse makes sense because it's just a person. It's a person. It's probably a bit grim, but once you start mucking around with dead bodies, that's where I just say, I draw the line.
It's just making me think of John Stape, because he and Charlotte buried Colin Fishwick under the underworld, and then they dug it up, threw him in the river, and then after killing Charlotte, he then dragged her body up to the old tram crash site, didn't he?
That's what Gary needs. Gary needs a big explosion. He can just throw the bones and go, look, it's incinerated him instantly.
He needs John as his henchman. If only he hadn't died in that car crash.
Who's the guy that's going to redevelop the street?
Ray.
We've decided. He needs to say to Ray, just dig it up, and throw it in the hole.
Right, good stuff. At last this story's on track.
Chuck him in the canal.
I still think, though, it feels like this story is going to go until Christmas. It feels like this is going to be a big 60th thing. And
I know, it will do.
I don't need it to now.
I
want this to end now.
No.
We're building up to what feels like should be a conclusion. Gary's mask is about to be dropped.
There's still so many more crimes he can commit.
I don't want him to.
Well, I don't care what you want.
Really, really don't want him to.
You're like one of these naysayers, these Pat Phelan naysayers. That's what you sound like to me.
I'm looking forward to this next week. Daniel.
My turn.
Tincognito.
On Monday, this was so fun. This was funny and creepy and weird. This was a bit like Psycho. Spoiler alert, when we find out his dead mum is a skeleton, dressed up, and he wears her clothes and runs around.
Yes.
Because on Monday, we find that Daniel has not been paying Nikki £150 a session, although it was £220 a session. Now it's £150. Maybe it was like when you join the gym, you have to pay a joining fee.
Maybe.
So he pays £150 an hour to go meet Nikki in the hotel to make her wear Sinead's cardi and perfume so that he can nestle his head on her bosom and talk about Bertie and how wonderful that is, and just chat. And I this has made me realise that all along Daniel has been misunderstood. He never loved Sinead, he never loved Bethany, and he certainly doesn't love Nikki. He just really loves fluffy cardigans.
And that's scent.
He could get an Alsatian and just get him to wear a cardi, as long as it's
cheaper, isn't it?
Much cheaper. Or like maybe what are those?
He just needs to get
an Afghan hound with nice blonde hair. So anyway, on Wednesday they talk about the baby, and he's like, "Oh, please stay," because her alarm goes off. I mean, it's a good job they're not shagging, because it's not very erotic, is it, to have an alarm go off and have her go 150 quid. So he brings out £80, and she's like, sorry, which to me I thought was pretty significant, because it shows me anyway that Nikki has got no sentimentality about this relationship. She doesn't feel sorry for him. She enjoys his company, but she's certainly not going to let it slide that it's 150 quid, not 80.
Yeah.
Even though he is a struggling single father with a part-time job in a busted up lawyer's office. He puts it on a credit card. I love the fact that she's like, just pay me later, it's contactless. She's going to be in trouble. And that's why we didn't have it on Friday. How's she going to socially distance from him?
She didn't get out a card machine and say, just stick it in the slot, love.
Gross.
That's one of her standard lines.
She did say we could do a lot more than chat, you know. And he's like, no.
Yeah, that's what they said in the second half.
How much is he racking up on credit cards? He's going to end up at debt at the end of this story.
Yup. But and it's Ken's money he's spending as well, isn't it?
Well, it's his now, because he's paying on the credit card. Daniel says, not about sex, you help fix me, I'm sleeping through the night now. And she's pretty pleased with herself, but still not pleased enough to let him have a discount.
Yeah, she did. You say that she doesn't have any sentimentality about it, but it did seem to me at the end, that look that she gave, she might be quite pleased with herself that she's doing some wholesome
but don't forget,
duty here.
But like, okay, say you work in a shop and you have a customer that comes in and you enjoy their company and you have a laugh with them. You ain't giving them free beans, no matter how much you like them. You've got to pay for them.
So, I thought that this was a really interesting twist. I did not know that this was coming.
No, I didn't.
And it was one of those like, she's not doing
cringe.
that, is she? It
Cringe,
was really
cringe.
cringy and awkward, but also horribly sad.
Yeah,
It was
and it's
really,
not healthy.
really tragic
It
for
can't be
Daniel.
healthy at all.
And I really do like Daniel, and I still insist that Rob Millard is one of the finest actors that Coronation Street has
I'm
at the
kind of
moment.
getting sick of Daniel.
And I can totally see why people would be, and I'm a little bit. I don't. Although it's natural that he's going through all this grief and misery, yada yada yada.
Blah, blah.
I'd like to have a bit of fun, maybe.
He's having fun.
But I was totally bought into this, but it was weird.
This is another case of Daniel thinking he solved a problem, but he's just creating another one. He is still not over Sinead.
No, I mean,
the same thing happened with Bethany,
it's
where
just
people
like
kept
Bethany
saying...
again, he's just looking for a replacement.
But people kept saying on the internet, like, oh, everyone's being really harsh. Surely it's down to each individual person how quickly you move on. It's blah, blah, nobody's business but his, etc., etc. Like, number one, it is my business because it's a TV show.
I don't
about
know.
people that I'm supposed to be invested in, so yeah, it is my business. And number two, it's not healthy to instantly replace somebody with a lookalike.
I don't know how anybody can watch Daniel this week and go, yeah, perfectly
Healthy
natural
coping
part of the
mechanism.
grieving process. Yeah,
Just
absolutely. It's the 8th stage of grief, getting somebody to dress up as your dead wife and snuggle in them in a hotel. One of the lesser mentioned ones. I think that I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, that cardigan. Had we seen much of Sinead in there?
In the cardigan?
I think that she should have been wearing that top. You know, the top.
No.
The top that's looking like the adult colouring book.
It would have been... It was definitely a Sinead-y looking cardigan, but I can't say that Sinead ever, to me, wore a signature piece of
I'm sure
clothing.
that people could find pictures of her wearing it, but for me, the iconic piece of Sinead clothing is that print, that colourful, bold print, which is a bit like the print that Tyrone and Fizz have got on their lounge wall.
Because don't forget that Daniel had Bethany... Well, he didn't have her do it, but she wore Sinead's dressing gown, and he saw Sinead, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
I think it would have made more sense if he'd brought her the dressing gown
that's
to
what
wear.
I thought. But I think that probably triggered him to sort of go down this avenue of, maybe I don't need a wife, maybe I just need a cardigan.
I'm wondering whether, what other things, apart from the cardi and the perfume she does to make him think of her, like, does she do the voice? Does she start talking about soaps and beard oils? Does she...
Start moaning about Bertie.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I wonder. I mean, he can show her the videos, can't he? He's got a whole laptop full of videos that he can say, do your homework, love. This is who I want you to be.
Get on with it. I'm spending £150 an hour here and you're just lying there. Listening to stories. To her, this must be the best client she's ever had.
Oh, yeah, I know. Just gets to lie on her back. I
He
know
should at
that's
least get a
part of her job
discount.
anyway. But...
Because there's no cleaning fee involved.
Very true.
Very true.
Very, very true. So it was making me wonder if we were in Daniel's position, if I sadly died and then you missed me and you wanted somebody to pretend to be me that you could snuggle with.
I'd hate that.
What would you get them to wear? What would you get them to smell like?
What I would get them to do is sit on the edge of the sofa with their nose in their phone, ignoring me, and that would make me feel like he had never left.
I don't know what I'd get them to do for you. I'd probably just get them to shout at me and cook my tea.
Wander around the house in my pyjamas all day long,
Swigging cider.
I don't swig cider in the daytime.
That's true. Daniel goes to her at any time of the day.
Saying, Michael, we have to do the garden this weekend.
But I do know the perfume that you like, your angel perfume.
No, that's the perfume you like to me to wear.
Don't you like it?
I wear it because you like it.
What?
Secret.
I thought, don't you like
I do like it, but I know you like it.
Yeah.
Giving too much away here.
Oh my gosh, I thought that you liked that perfume.
I do like it, but I like to wear it because you like it.
Well, I would get Nikki to wear that for me. I have to say.
Perfume.
Yeah, I don't think I have a particular aroma, do I? Maybe don't answer that one.
I would prefer. I'm not going to incriminate myself on the stand.
Now, one thing that was interesting about this story, which I think we didn't just have a collective amnesia, is the synopsis for this episode was very different to what actually happened on screen. Because apparently, if I'm remembering right, I should have it up in front of me, to be honest, but again, not well prepared for this. There was supposed to be a scene where Adam sees Daniel with Sinead's cardigan poking out of his bag, and he's like, "Why you got Sinead's cardigan there, you weirdo?" And Daniel says, "Oh, I just carry it around with me to remember her by."
Yeah.
And I think that scene would have really helped.
No, I don't think so.
Would click
No, I think
better.
the shock value of her putting the cardigan on was better without that.
But it's hard because I don't think it was shock because I saw her putting on the cardigan and I'm like, what's she doing? Because
no, immediately.
Because I didn't immediately think that's Sinead.
As soon as she was like, "Oh, should I, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Oh, gross."
I suppose...
Because you could tell immediately it was a piece of Sinead's clothing, because Sinead had a very particular style of like dresses but big sloppy cardigans.
I don't notice things like that.
Oh, it's creepy.
But I think maybe you're right. But
creepy.
Yeah, which is interesting that the
Tragic.
synopsis said something very different, and it makes me wonder whether they actually filmed those, whether they just said they were going to film them and then they couldn't because COVID got in the way.
This is another example of a story that is pretty realistic in a way that Daniel is still grieving. His wife only just did die was it November? And it's we're only in July. He would still be very very raw for him, and he's gone to this grief retreat, and that obviously needs his money back for that.
Yeah, totally.
But I will say, this is exactly, you'd still be at this state, you still would be messed up completely. But as a viewer, I know some people are watching this going, "God, why doesn't he just get over it? I'm sick and tired of Daniel moaning on about his wife." This is the balance. This is the trouble about soaps like this, is how much time do you give a story to make it realistic?
Yeah, I don't think it's unrealistic. I'm sure there are people that do things like this.
Well, not even do stuff like this, but just still be hung up about something. It's hardly any time at all.
Yeah.
It's not even a year.
No, I enjoyed it.
In comparison, though, he is the biggest drama queen about somebody dying on Coronation Street in the whole history of the show. Because
hello, Alia.
Yeah, but Alia gave it up after she noticed nobody was paying attention to her.
Alia never gives it up.
But you understand my point.
Yeah.
Most often when another character dies, like take Robert for example, who even knows he was even born now? Nobody mentions him. Like you might get the odd wistful soliloquy a year to the day or something. I mean, even David doesn't go on about Kylie. He mentions her now and then and it comes up, but
he did have a bit of a bad time after she died, though.
But did he go to a prostitute and get to wear a cardigan?
No.
150 quid.
He ended up going to bed with Emma, didn't he? Was that after Kylie?
But I bet she didn't charge him.
I don't remember now.
Daniel should just go out with Emma. She'd wear whatever he said for free.
Emma probably likes big pink fluffy cardigans as well, doesn't she?
She's probably got her own.
Yeah, she has. I reckon she has. I'm wondering whether it's going to get weirder and Daniel's going to start confusing her for Sinead and start talking to her about things that he thinks that she should know because she's Sinead. Like he'll say, "Oh, do you remember the time when Bertie such and such?" Little bits like that, because he did it with Bethany, and I wonder whether we are going to get another reappearance from Katie McGlynn, who Corrie just can't seem to shake off.
She's like the female Todd.
Yeah, I wonder,
Yeah, I know.
So, or is he going to bring Bertie along to the hotel?
That's extra.
Which is seriously creepy. I mean, I assume that maybe not, because we can't have scenes with Bertie in now because they haven't got the really young child.
No, that would be even creepier. I bought Bertie to show you. Daniel, that's a doll. What's wrong with you?
Yeah,
I've gone
it's
mad.
It's the thing that you've made even Sinead. Yeah, but yeah, taking your son to a prostitute. That's when you know you need to go back to that grief retreat, like you say. Or maybe it was an alternative therapy, and that's a technique that they suggest. You really miss your wife.
You can try getting a prostitute to wear a cardigan. Sorry, I mean sex worker. You can get a mop, stick some googly eyes on it. That was a very popular one for people that are on a budget. You can.
Put a couple of balloons up front. A couple of balloons
I
out the
thought you were
back.
going to say get a balloon and just squeeze the air out of it, and it sounds just like a voice.
Sup?
Oh dear.
I think I quite like Nikki now, and I wasn't sure last
I
week.
think she's an opportunistic.
Just that look that she gave at the end.
No.
And I can't.
If she would cared about him, she would tell him this is unhealthy and bad, and she wouldn't charge him money because she's on a break when she's sitting there. I know he's boring as hell, but if I was her, I'd just get my phone out and look at my phone while he chats. She is. She's not a good person.
But if she falls for him, which isn't beyond the realms of possibility here, I think this week I would be more accepting of it than I was before.
No, I'm not keen on it.
And the actress she's so keen to be. She's so excited about being in Corrie, isn't she?
It's not.
It's been a live stream.
Just because it's your live stream doesn't mean that you're a good character.
I wonder whether they're going to turn her into a goodie.
At any point she could suddenly go, I've had a bout of conscience, here's a grand back or whatever. Or she is.
I've had an unexpected windfall.
It says I've won second place in a beauty contest.
God, I've only been on Corrie for 5 episodes and already my luck's coming in.
I can totally see them bringing Nikki in. She's, she has this relationship with Daniel. Something happens. Big turning point for Daniel. He gets over himself or whatever.
Daniel tells Ken that he's going out with a sex worker. Ken goes, "What?"
Oh, really? then she moves in with Emma.
Do you go to older clientele?
And then, next week, she's had a complete personality transplant, and we never hear again that she was a sex worker. She suddenly just turns into a BAP spreader.
BAP spreader? That's Shona's job, isn't it? Behind the counter at Roy's.
Yeah.
I don't
think
that anything we've seen of Nikki's personality so far is supposed to make us think, oh, she's dodgy, she's wrong. And we can imply that the fact that she's going along with his weird fetishes, that might make us think, give us an idea about her personality. But I think Corrie is still, leaving her open to being a goodie.
I'm sorry. I think she's a bit of a vulture.
Mm. Well, let's find out when the storyline continues next week or whenever. Abby's story. This was mostly just conclusions to last week, wasn't it? Kevin's trying to get Seb to make up with Abby. Abby's leaving the Sally's house to go move in with Kevin, and there was a nice little scene there where they were like, "Oh, thank you for making me feel like family. Oh, you're the best friend I've got." I bet they're never going to speak to each other now. She's moved out.
Never
Literally.
again.
We know what friendship's like on Coronation Street.
The scriptwriters are kicking themselves about this development because if they could have kept Abby in the Webster's house, Metcalf house, it would have been so much easier for distancing because she can stand as close to Tim as she wants.
I know. Well, there's been stuff in the news, I can't remember whether it was this week or whether it even originated from somebody suggested something on Twitter about, what if Abby and Tim had an affair? And both Sal and Joe have said no. I think that'd be silly, but
it would be silly.
It would, but it would mean that they could
It'd
have
be easy to do
an affair. Although Coronation Street would be, going against government guidelines. Well, no, just by saying, look, these characters are having a secret affair, and they're not even in each other's bubble.
Oh, for God's sake! I don't think that's anyone's concern.
Anyway. What are we saying? Abby goes over to number 13 and she's so chuffed about moving in with Kevin that she decides to cook a celebratory tea of pesto, pasto and tuna.
This was the worst thing
everybody.
I've ever heard.
Delish.
This made me insane with rage because
this
is another
vile.
Stupid woman who can't cook story.
I don't know whether it was.
This is not poverty food.
I don't think that they played it like that. I think
this is not food born of necessity. Sort of somebody who's struggling to get by and trying to piece together any meal they can. I'm not going to let anybody tell me that pesto is a food you buy when you have got no money.
Maybe she just grows her own basil.
Oh, and my pine tree bush.
Maybe she has cannabis pesto or something.
Cannabis pesto?
Yeah.
On a single mother's wage?
Well, she was a druggie.
She's got to spend that money on snack. Not pesto.
I think it was supposed to be nice because everybody said how lovely it was. Jack was so pleased with us that he went straight up to
vomit in the bathroom.
There wasn't anybody giving any looks. It was just like, we got another one that can't cook.
Am I out of touch?
It's
Please
what all the cool
in
kids are eating for tea now.
If you think that tuna and pesto...
It's northern speciality, Gemma. It's cuisine.
Is a normal food to eat. Pesto and pasta, yes, obviously. Why'd you put tuna in there, you crazy bint?
Oh, tuna pasta bake. I think lots of people probably would like that, to be fair. I love pasta bake. I'm not so keen on fishy things.
Do you reckon that maybe the writer, made...
Jonathan Harvey,
maybe this is his special meal.
Maybe that's what his mum made him.
And he wants to promote it because everyone thinks it's horrible, but actually it's lovely.
Maybe
the worst bit was when Seb walks in later to make up with her, and she's like, "Oh, here you go. There's still some left." Why am I eating cold tuna pesto pasta? Congealed clumps of soggy, coagulated tuna with lumps of hardened cheese and oily bits all over the place and just claggy mess. No, thank you.
Yeah, the reason
I'll have fish fingers and custard like the rest of us Brits.
Fish fingers and custard, fish finger rockers is what is the classic dish in the house, the Franklin household. I'll have you know. Anyway,
that was high cuisine. That was compared to what they normally ate.
The reason why Seb went round is because Emma was able to persuade him, because we had a little side story where Emma tells everybody about her aunt who bashed her head on a concrete hanging basket because she refused to take off her platform shoes because she was a massive Spice Girls fan, so much so that when she was carried down the aisle in her funeral, she came in to spice up your life. And maybe she had existential angst, and maybe this is what Seb's got.
So the existential angst was brought on by the concrete hanging basket, or she hit her head because she had existential angst.
No, I don't know.
But maybe it was just a coincidence.
I think she had both existential angst and a deadly Spice Girls obsession.
It wasn't the Spice Girls that killed her, it was the concrete hanging basket.
If she hadn't been wearing her Jerry Halliwell shoes, she wouldn't have been told to bang her head on the hanging basket.
What a sturdy bracket that was hanging from.
Anyway, she's not the only clumsy oaf in the Brooker family, because Emma later bashes her leg on the little wooden
this was so weird.
Outside of a... Was it on the bench, or was it on the wooden bit around the tree?
She was like, who put that there?
Which,
it was Richard Hillman.
As soon as I watched that, I was like, oh, that's what they filmed on the first day back, because when they had the video of Ben Price and Jane and Georgia talking about, it's great being back, everything's so safe.
I feel so safe, and then anyone down the background goes, ow! Jesus.
Then they showed that scene of Ali and Sally
look, socially distanced stunts.
Yeah, I know. Anyway.
She hurts her leg. And there's inconsequential.
Seb sees her going, ooh. And then he takes her up to the flat, and she goes and says, I think you should go and see your mum because you've only got one mum. So she does.
He does.
And they make up, basically. That's about it. I liked it when Emma was... When she was talking to Sally about, we'll just do my socials. Do you even know what social media is, Sally? Sally knows exactly what social media is. She's got Rosie Webster as a daughter.
I know.
And if she did a mayoral campaign, I think she was right in there.
I bet you Rosie's even on TikTok.
I bet she is. Have you seen Helen Flanagan's new hair yet?
No.
She's gone proper pink, and not baby pink. It's like she looks like a fruit salad sweet. It's like those two colours, if they mix together on the fruit salad packet. It's like a pinky orange, blood orange kind of colour hair, I think.
Interesting.
Maybe you're making that.
You're not good at colours, are you?
Grapefruity.
You think navy is green, so we won't talk about it.
No.
I think that Seb...
This is something else.
No. I think that Seb does say that Abby's crap at cooking, because he says, Abby's food is not cordon bleu, it should be cordoned off.
Yes, they did, didn't they?
So there you go. I rest my case. Pesto, pasta with tuna... An abomination.
I forgot that he said that line. That was quite a funny line. I think it was probably a bit too smart for Seb to have come out with.
Cordon bleu
but I'm sure that Jonathan Harvey gave himself a celebratory pat on the back when he came out of that one.
Good job, Jonathan.
Another zinger.
Are we writing this one down?
Oh, they
Oh,
also
we did.
We did write that one down. Also, I've written down Abby's school day story, which I can't really remember what it was, but it did involve Kevin perving over a memory of Abby in a short pleated skirt.
Yeah, that was odd. It's like, no.
Anyway, it feels like that story's done with for now. Although what's going on with the siblings, I don't know, because again, I assume we're not going to see them.
Are they bugging off to Australia
They
now?
may. Well, I don't know. If they're now in a most definitely COVID-ridden world, presumably the twins can't go to Australia.
I think you can go to places, but you have to quarantine.
Or maybe they just snuck in there before it got really bad in the parallel universe that Coronation Street is set in.
Themselves under
Yeah,
the door.
slid right under.
And then they're like, oh, you just got in there, mate. That was a good one, wasn't it? Thank you, everybody.
Fantastic impersonation. Anyway, I don't know. It feels like if the twins have gone, then they've been written off very quickly.
And it's a pointless story.
Yeah, we got to see a bit of bit of sadness from Abby, and I do like it.
And we're back to square one with Seb. Although now we're back again because he ate a stupid pasta.
Yeah, it felt like it was a bit like the Fizz and Tyrone story from a few weeks ago that was introduced and tied up in super quick time.
Yeah.
Except this one had a little bit more, a bit more angst and heart and whatever to it.
Imagine being so bad at cooking that people literally will move to a different continent to get away from it.
Anyway, that's it. And then we had the Bailey story, which is literally nothing. It was just Michael...
and Ed.
Michael and Ed. Was it Michael and Ed or the right? It was Michael, wasn't it? Yeah, Michael's on the phone to Grace organising a date with her, and then Ed comes in and is like, oh, Mum's always at work, she's working too hard.
Yeah,
God,
but
isn't
look
that
at
a
all the
bugger being
rainbows
married
we
to a
drew.
key worker?
We drew rainbows, so shut up.
So it looks like, despite Coronation Street saying they're light touching the COVID, that feels like it's the beginning of a story.
There might be something with
directly
Aggie talking
about
about
it.
being on the front lines.
Yeah, I mean...
I think there's a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to NHS people and how it's
I
affected.
don't think that they would have put that literally one scene in an episode if it wasn't going to lead somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's it for this week's Coronation Street. And I think listeners, as you can tell by our enthused ramblings, that we quite enjoyed it this week. And I haven't actually thought about what score I'm going to give it, but to be honest, there wasn't a whole lot that I didn't like about this week.
I enjoyed... I really liked the dream scene. I liked lots of things that people aren't going to like.
I liked an
Dream
awful
scene,
lot about this
I thought
week's show.
there was some funny bits, funny silly bits. I don't mind the silly bits, the silly jokes. I still thought Emma was funny. I thought she did a really good job again of maintaining this very fine balance between comedy and tragedy. Where she was able to tell the story about her aunt dying with such a weird circumstances with a straight face, and she still managed to pull it off.
Well, speaking
That's
of Emma,
really
I'm going to go
hard.
right in there and give this week's episodes 4.5 yogurts to
Four
tide
and
you.
a half?
4.5 yogurts to tide you over before tea.
That was funny. I thought that bit was a bit weird. With
That was a really
Alina
weird
and
random
Emma are
line.
turning into such a strange couple of people.
Yeah.
Because, like you can tell that there must be a ritual where they always have a yogurt at 5:00. They must have gone on Google and like searched all those images of women laughing at yogurts and thought it looked like a really
That's
good...
slimming out a bit. This will be.
look, we could have so much fun if we just eat a yogurt.
I think 4.5 4 doesn't feel high enough for this, but maybe 4.5 feels too high. But no, I'm gonna stick to it.
Well, I'll give it a 4 because I think then we average out to what it should be, really.
Yeah, and the exciting thing is next week, unless they totally screw up, feels like it could be an equally
Good week.
brilliant week.
I'm going to give it 4 pistols of truth.
Shooting from the hip.
Pew pew.
Character of the week.
I should have given it 4 metal detectors.
4 method. Brilliant. Character of the week. I mean,
Yasmeen standing up to Geoff was pretty good fun.
I know it's got to be Yasmeen, and she is shooting up the character ranking poll.
I reckon
thingy.
I really loved... Well, anyone who's got a major storyline going on really has to get a few characters of the week, otherwise something serious.
She's already in our... I can't remember what position she's on, because Rebecca updates us every now and then. She's already definitely in our top 5.
Thank
She
you,
might be in our
Rebecca.
top 3. In fact, I think that if we both vote Yaz this week, and I'm not doing it in order for this to happen, she might be like going up to number 2.
Well, I was going to vote for her anyway because
I think I will.
that dream sequence, she played it really well.
I can't. Yeah.
I
I can't
thought
remember.
that was good. I really liked what.
I'm just thinking round the top, and I cannot remember the order. I think we got Jenny as our number 1. Phelan is or was number 2, but he is really close to being dethroned. Sally, David, and Yasmeen. Those are our top 5 in I can't remember what order, but the order's changing a lot because we're giving it. I think we gave Sally last week. Yaz is doing a lot at the moment. Phelan's going to get dethroned before long, and you're right, Jenny could as well if Yasmeen keeps this up.
She better up her game and start learning the children of animals.
That's all it takes.
What are the children of animals? Catlings.
Catlings. What were we saying?
Are you going to vote for her to be character?
I'm voting for Yasmeen.
I was voting for
you said the dream sequence was great. The
standing up to Geoff was great.
That phone call on Wednesday was fantastic.
Not just that, but the meeting she had with Elaine, where she was like trying to comprehend what was going on.
Yeah, but I mean, fair play. There's quite a lot of other characters that could have been there. I mean, Geoff, it could have been. Again, maybe partly for the dream sequence.
He worked really hard on that.
Yeah, Barty. That was he did a great job this week. Gary was better. He was more entertaining this week than he's been for a long time. I think Adam's still winding me up a little bit with how insistent and obsessed. Sarah's right. He is totally obsessed with him. And the Daniel, I mean, he wasn't character of the week material this week, but I really like that twist in the story.
I think they're both mad.
It's
him
creepy
and Nikki
as heck.
Should both have their heads popped together.
I really enjoyed that twist.
What's going to happen with... The thing is... So now we are definitely in a COVID world now.
Oh yeah.
So
he can't go cuddling with her.
What is going to happen with that? Because he can't really, he can go to her. This is the thing, but is he going to put his son's life in danger? Because I would say it's a very high risk behaviour to go to somebody who clearly will have other clients who she's seeing, and she might be exposed to.
I hadn't even thought about that.
And Bertie is going to be vulnerable, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if he did go to her anyway.
Has he had his injections yet, Bertie? I can't remember.
What, his COVID vaccine?
Yeah, you know, do you remember the anti-vaccine story?
Yeah, I do remember it. Wouldn't that make him more paranoid to avoid Nikki if he could? But they can't do that because they obviously want her to be in the show.
That really does put a dampener on. A
big role, this seems.
Yeah.
She's going to be significant in some manner.
I hope that they do, acknowledge
I don't know whether they can't just brush it under the carpet now, unfortunately. They're going to have to come up with some kind of batty reason why. Like perhaps she'll be like, well, I can't have any clients anymore, so I'm going to move in with you.
But I don't think that you can just... Or maybe she can just form a bubble with him.
She can't form a bubble with him and then not have any other clients.
The thing is, with all of this...
She must have loads of... She can't just survive on 150 quid. I don't know how often he's going to her. A week or whatever.
It's really difficult to know what Corrie will and won't allow characters to do and which rules they will and won't, because the fact that coronavirus has just suddenly appeared...
You can't expect them to... allow all the characters to completely comply with the rules, because that wouldn't make sense, because that's not what people do. And Coronation Street isn't about modelling best case scenarios and what you should do in every situation. That's not the point of the show. They might have to chuck a disclaimer up, because I'm sure people will accuse them of being irresponsible if people do things that don't make sense. I'm sure people are moaning about Bernie and Brian being in a car together, for example. But you can't just not have anybody do anything, because then, we wouldn't have had Gary murdering Rick, because it's naughty and illegal. They might have to throw a disclaimer up going,
give us some slack, okay?
Well, no, follow the guidelines. This is what, in my magazine, before lockdown happened, I was working on an issue that we then had to modify. And one of the things that we did was somebody who lives in Japan wrote a column about what they do when they're in Japan, how they do stuff, and they have different things.
As how they're reacting to
the pandemic.
So
they wore masks from the beginning, but also other stuff like gargling, like they gargle when they come home, which we don't do.
No.
But I made sure that on there we had a little disclaimer going, follow the guidelines in your local area according to the government. Don't just read a magazine or watch a TV show and say, oh, they're doing it, so it's fine for me.
Yeah, I mean, they've had all these warnings before Coronation Street for the past few months saying this was filmed before COVID.
And they didn't have it today.
Didn't they?
I don't think so.
I can't remember now.
Because it wasn't.
No, I know, but I mean, just because they're now
Yeah, but it's got
post-COVID, it doesn't mean that everything's fine and anything goes.
No, I know, but it's not. The reason that was there before was because people were watching things that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
So now, that really logically speaking, they should have a disclaimer saying, these characters are fictional, you muppets. Don't do what they do. Do we really have to tell you this?
Yeah, true. Right, I think that's enough. That's been our longest street talk for quite a while. But
that's because we had to talk about
this week.
We had to talk about how they're dealing with the COVID stuff, and we had to talk about dream sequences.
Yes, we did.
We had to.